On January 6th, 2023, we're going to be having the full moon in Cancer for Capricorn season 2022 through 2023, because remember, the first half of Capricorn season is from December 21st through the 31st. And then on December 23rd, we had the new moon where we set intentions, where we got super practical and grounded for the plans that we wanted to achieve and set in motion. And then now we're reaching a climax of where the energies are at their highest point of maximum. And we're talking about this full moon, which occurs on January 6th. And so, the full moon is in Capricorn and Cancer. So the sun is in Capricorn, making an exact opposition to the moon in Cancer. And so the moon rules Cancer, so it's coming home to its home sign. And the moon feels really comfortable in Cancer because of all the themes I'm going to get into. And I feel like if I start talking here and give an overview, it might just give some stuff away, so I don't want to do that. But I do want to get into the really technical bits of this, the parts of this that need to get addressed. So this full moon is happening exactly at 5:11 p.m. Central Time and 6:11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. These are just two time zones. But so, there's also Eastern Standard Time that is an hour later. That comes at that time. So, I might say this is happening at this time, and it might mean something else for another time zone, so you can convert that accordingly. When this full moon is really at its, point of being, at 0 degrees of orb, is from 2:59 p.m. through 7:23 p.m. Central Time. That would mean for Eastern Standard Time, that would be 3:59 p.m. and 8:23 p.m. And then when this, how many minutes is this full moon exact? 0 degrees and 0 minutes. And it's going to be that way if you were to look up on a natal chart. You were to see that the sun would be opposite the moon, 0 degrees and 0 minutes, for about 2 minutes. 5:11 and 5:12 Central Time, 6:11 and 6:12 Eastern Standard Time. That's really technical, but I'm going to get into the content and the meat of what this is actually going to be about here. So the full moon occurs at 16 degrees and 22 minutes. So the sun and the moon are going to oppose each other at this degree and minute. And you can find out what life area in your chart is going to be activated at this time. And so, full moons, again, if I didn't say this before, the energy is at its maximum. It's a peak, it's a climax. Full moons are times of culmination, and it's also, great for celebrating, getting out and meeting people, having fun, socializing, being very extroverted, and also releasing all the emotions which are pent up inside of you, particularly because the moon will be in Cancer. And it does deal with riding those emotional waves in a violent sea in the Antarctic or a Hawaiian sea, or however you want to define it more specifically, and make that metaphor for Cancer. So, Cancer deals with home, family, food. It deals with cooking and nurturing. Your roots of where your family comes from, your ancestors, your mother, your father, your grandmother, your great grandfather, your um, you know cousins, aunts, and uncles. That family. But it has to do more with your immediate family and your basic home life. And Cancer also has to do with emotional foundations, deals with that. And so, directly opposite that, and it deals with the relationship to your home, the relationship with your family, and if there are any sort of issues, or if the relationship is going really well, or where does there need to be more work or more progress gained, and more attention in these areas of your life. And Capricorn deals with its opposite. So when the sun's in Cancer, it's June 21st through July 22nd. When the sun's in Capricorn, through December 21st through or December 22nd through January 19th. Capricorn deals with your career, how you want to put yourself out in the world, how you make a living, a responsibility, living at the top, high life, quality type living. And, with Capricorn, I imagine that it really has to do with penthouse living, living at the top of a big apartment, huge apartment, with that high quality vent and with the high quality wine and resources and material things which you've worked so hard for. And Capricorn also deals with putting in the hard work and reaping the rewards of that. And so it deals with you being a mature adult and individual person who's going to stand up and initiate and take responsibility and restrict yourself in healthy ways. Because if we were to sit around, binging at home, eating, feeling all the time, then what would actually get done? And what is our purpose in this lifetime? Capricorn really wants to make it so that you're fulfilling your purpose. And when you have your Saturn return from 28 to 30, 50 to 60, I think it is, then Saturn's going to knock on your door and ask you and invite you to live your life according to your values and according to your purpose. So it deals with that, your responsibilities and, upholding your mission, solo mission or joint mission. Your fatherly nature. Capricorn deals with the father archetype opposite Cancer, the mother archetype who stays home, cleans, cooks, takes care of the family, nurtures people. In a sort of, I would imagine, a patriarchal society. And then the father goes out, the breadwinner goes to a job, makes money, does all those things. So you can see the opposition between these two, but yet the two marry and the two have children and they play their roles. And so this axis needs to be balanced between the Cancer and Capricorn. And Cancer is the feminine, or maybe the sacred feminine, and Capricorn is the masculine or the sacred masculine. The other two cardinal signs are Aries and Libra, so that could correspond to this as well. And so Capricorn versus Cancer. Cancer is your inner world, the womb, your home, where you sort of hang up your hat, or where you relax and yourself, and what place do you have to drop into? And hopefully that's not, a whole bottomless pit. And then Capricorn is the outer world, going out to the city and walking along those tall buildings with columns and going into the mill or the factory or the government or institution or whatever the place of business is, and maybe being a CEO or making a living. It deals with that again. And so it's, with Cancer Moon again, expressing your emotions. And, Cancer, I'd like to know, really how much sort of, strong and tough the grudges are that Cancer would hold if anyone would hurt the Cancer, particularly if you have strong Scorpio indicators in your chart or signatures in there. And so Cancer is very sensitive, and when somebody comes in the home, hurts the Cancer, harms them, gives them a hard time, insults them, or really, ruffles their feathers to a very negative place, there is an emotional wall that comes up, and this can really be with anything. So now it's time to tear down those walls and build bridges and make peace and connect and open up, which is always important, especially now. So that bridge would need to be built. And now you can open up your centers of compassion and care and love, because that's ultimately, the high road of Cancer. I can point to that really. So, caring for others and letting others off the hook, giving others slack, and leaning into the energy of letting go. And, I do want to say, I was, reading, just something about this full moon, and it was talking about forgiving and forgiveness. And so with the, forgiveness, with that piece of it, it's more of a release. You're releasing the attachment, the burden, the pain, the grudge, the hurt from that. And other themes, it deals with nurturing yourself on an emotional level, taking care of yourself, maybe pampering yourself, indulging, giving yourself permission to do that with healthy limits, of course, meditation, journaling, all those spiritual practices, and, all those things, really. And I do want to emphasize the idea of coming home to yourself again. And so the aspects with this full moon, we have the sun trying to Uranus. So you can imagine the tall, pipes and, the industrial factory, because, Uranus is very industrial, very technological. So with the sun trining Uranus, it's time for liberation, to embrace the unknown and the unconventional. What is new, what is out of your comfort zone, to be very forward thinking, to future pace, and to be open to trying new things with, that energy. And very practical things, because the sun and Uranus are both in Earth signs, the sun in Capricorn, Uranus in Taurus. And it also deals with embracing yourself and celebrating your uniqueness, and being the individual that you are, showing your talents of what you have to offer or teach, beating the tambourine or wearing those clothes, that are beautifully colored or whatever it may be that is unique to you. There's new doors opening, new possibilities, and there's an enthusiasm with the sun trining Uranus, and a radical thrust of momentum to start something new, do something new. And then we have the moon coming into a trine with Neptune over this full moon in Cancer. And so this deals with a heightening of your sensitivity to your environment, energy, vibrations, and the people and how they're treating you verbally, and maybe giving you the reassurance with the physical touches and pat on the backs. It will become very apparent who's loyal, who's trustworthy, who's on your side, and who isn't, and who's right for you and who's not right for you, with a heightening of your intuition. And there's also it's great for anything that involves your imagination, sitting and creating stories, dreaming, taking a nap in the middle of the day, writing poetry, giving yourself permission to be uninhibited when it comes to your imagination and those particular gifts. And composing music, listening to music, is also comes into really positive being an opportunity at this time. And that's this is what the full moon in Cancer for this year in particular is about. So I do hope that you enjoy, and I also want to point out, there's a reference, about home, and not just your physical home, but also your inner home inside of yourself. And there's a card from an oracle deck from Colette Baron Reid, who's a spiritual teacher, founder of Oracle School, oracle card author and expert. She has a card which is, I think it's, no place like home or something like that. And it talks a lot about that, about the idea of home. So, thank you for tuning in, and have a wonderful full moon.